I share a lot of women's stories on my pages, do a lot of story times. And a lot of times I implore grace and some empathy for people as they are brave enough to be vulnerable to share their stories with me. But inevitably, there are women that still come to my pages to let them know and let us know how they had. They don't feel sorry for them. They should have seen things earlier and all that. And I made a post on my community on my YouTube page saying, this is a reflection of trauma. And I am not a trauma expert, but I have read some books. And trauma impacts your brain, it impacts your thinking, your decision making skills. If you're coming from a situation where there was violence or trauma of any sort, anything that looks slightly better might be a better fit because you're thinking about safety. So sometimes when people jump from an abusive family life or an abusive relationship into another fire of an abusive relationship, but just slightly different, there are reasons why. And so many people lack empathy to be able to see that sometimes going from one bad situation to the next, there is a problem that needs to be addressed. And simply, talking down to these people, it doesn't help them. They've already gone through the defeating self-talk to themselves. They know because hindsight is 50-50 that they zigged where they should have zagged. And they are vulnerable enough to speak to me so that I can speak to other people. Anyways, I had a few comments. I had a good chunk of comments on that post. This person says, I am a trauma therapist and I approve this message. I don't like how many victim survivors are called stupid. They're in fight, flight, freeze, or appease mode if they haven't done trauma work. Please be kind. Everyone doesn't know the signs. This person says, thank you for this. It took me 8 years to realize I was in an abusive relationship. It was just normal behavior to me. Understand that if you have lived in a home that normalizes or has had traumatic experiences or you witness DV, that might be your norm. That might be your baseline. You might not know any different until someone tells you something different and the warning flags finally start to go off. This next person says victim shaming keeps the cycle going. It makes people turn within. It makes people not want to share. This person said to me, thank you. As an adult child who witnessed DV growing up, it took many years for me to even acknowledge my trauma, let alone start to do the work to heal from it. Women need to stop assigning blame to other women. We need to support each other in healing and creating good lives for ourselves. We are lifted up when we help others. And that is what I try to do with my pages. I try to highlight these things so that we can stop this cycle and so that we can have a little bit more awareness of how family lives and terrible relationships can have on children of those relationships, and then just children in general by witnessing these things. This next person says, I grew up in a household with DV. I didn't realize until I was much older how that affected my romantic relationships. I'm really just now at 41 learning to navigate. When I open up these conversations, is to allow other people to talk about it because sometimes some of the finger pointing, I know so much more, I would never get caught up like you did type of people makes other people withdraw. This person says, being a person who has experienced extreme abuse, I have looked deeply into myself about my abuse, have gone through therapy, been put on medication. Those things helped for a while, but I had to face the abuse head on. I would like to speak on this if given the opportunity. I'm 68 years old now and don't have the nightmares anymore, but I can be triggered by voice tone, smells, and words. Trauma never goes away. There is no get over it. Wanting to write a book about it, but in total fear of putting it into words. That's crazy, but it is what it is. Recognize that traumatic circles could really be like PTSD from war veterans and people who have seen other extreme forms of violence. But we We downplay what some people have been through because it was just a relationship. They could have walked away. We don't recognize that this is trauma. Trauma makes you do weird things. Trauma makes you think about survival. It does not make you think about well thought out choices. It just really doesn't. This person says, I am a trauma survivor who is the poster child for making bad decisions. I was abused by my parents, willingly trafficked as a teen. Then I got pregnant while I was homeless at 18. Then I married an extremely abusive man at 24, not my daughter's father, who abused me and my daughter horrifically. Then was in a friendship with a toxic and abusive woman. The hardest thing has been forgiving myself for what my ex husband did to my daughter. She blocked it out until she was 17, and I had somehow fooled myself that I'd broken the cycle right up until that moment. You see how hard it is for some people to even own these decisions. It takes a lot to have some clarity of mind. And I'm hoping that these conversations help somebody, help unlock that some of this needs to be undone and do so without, you know, piling on like some of us like to do. This woman says, I was abused for the first 12 years of my life and then neglected for the next 6. It took so much hard work that now at 40, I feel like I've only really been healthy for like 5 years, 7 max. No one looks at a paralyzed person and demands to know why they didn't get up and run from a fire. This person in this first half of her paragraph sums it up for me. Few things make me so angry online than reading someone divulge their struggle and the response is, oh, boo hoo, we all have our problems. You don't see me crying about it. Talking about things that we have been through, it helps other people see that their situation isn't that abnormal. And I've created a space for that. I want us to see this so that we can take the steps to remedy it so that the next generation of women and girls don't have to go through this. I don't want people to go back within, to withdraw, because some uncompassionate people want to finger point and downplay trauma. I don't know if they haven't yet worked through their trauma or if they feel better that they have not actually experienced any of this. I don't know what their deal is, but I'm tired of these comments because they're unhelpful. I'm glad that you guys have never experienced anything like this. I personally haven't been through trauma, but I'm empathetic for the children that have seen this and still are working through that. Like some of these people say, they're 40, they're 50, they're 60, still working through this. This is not a just get over it type of situation. It really isn't. You don't just get over trauma and seeing and feeling DV. You just don't. Anyways, you guys go ahead, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. Like, comment, share.